But the funny thing is, the fellow who was in Epstein's cell with him was named Nicholas Tartaglione. I went to high school with Nick.
Are you serious?
I went to high school with Nick Tartaglione, and Nick Tartaglione told, no, it's not me, so Nick Tartaglione told the guard. From the WTKN studios in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, it's the Regular Joe Show. The Regular Joe Show is sponsored by the Lake Agency, auto, home, life, residential, or commercial. Call the Lake Agency for all of your insurance needs. Conveniently located off of Bypass 17 North in Surfside Beach. Give them a call at 843-685-9073. I am Dominic Santoro, your average Joe, along with
David Hucks, your Regular Joe.
And
Lou Bellagio. I've been graduated to the above average Joe.
And with our special guest is
Shannon Grady. I'm not a Joe.
And she's certainly not a sloppy
She's a
Joe.
Jolene or a Joanne. We could put her that. So
I'm not a Gen Z.
You know. Okay, now you're going to probably wonder why we have Shannon in the studio. We know she's running for a local office, but we brought her in because we've been getting a lot of questions about this health czar that's been coming up in the news, and people have asked questions. Now, you're in the center of this. You're running for office.
Yes.
You take it from here and let people know what is happening.
Well, first of all, what you're hearing a lot of from the delegates here in Horry County is that it's not a health czar because the word czar does not appear anywhere in the bill. But what I would like to say is there's an old expression, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's a duck.
It's not a monkey, it's a duck.
Right,
yes,
right.
Correct.
So even though it doesn't have the language that says health czar, that is what it is. And I'm going to read to you directly from the bill so no one can say that I'm making this up. If you look at Section 44-1-100, it says all sheriffs and constables in the several counties of the state and police officers and health officers of cities and towns must aid and assist the director of the Department of Public Health and must carry out and obey his or her orders, it should say, or those of the Department of Public Health to enforce and carry out any and all restrictive measures and quarantine regulations that may be prescribed. It even goes on to say that the Public Safety Authority may also request the assistance from the South Carolina National Guard to enforce orders made pursuant to this chapter or pursuant to Chapter 4. Now, I don't recall when I taught government and I taught the Constitution specifically, I don't remember there being any footnote at the bottom of the Constitution that said all of these things are enforced except in the case of a pandemic. Anybody out there seen that footnote? It's not in small print. David?
No.
Haven't seen it small.
No.
Okay, so what that tells me is that there is never an instance in which there should be this sort of authority. Now, Carla...
There's a precedent that hasn't been set.
Correct.
Right.
Carla Schissler, however you want to pronounce her last name, has contended that this power already existed. I think David and I were talking about that before we came on the air. And so my contention is, yes, it did already exist. So if you're writing a new bill, why are you not stripping away that sort of Marxist dictatorship from the bill? Now, why is that your defense?
Now, let me ask you a question. Can this health administration, health czar, whatever you want to call it, he can shut down local businesses, he can shut down schools.
Yes.
Can he shut them down one at a time, or does he have to shut them down in the case of a pandemic? Or if somebody calls up DHEC and says, hey, I saw mouse droppings in a deli, I saw a restroom that wasn't clean in a restaurant. He goes in and he sends the inspectors in to do that. Can he close that restaurant down?
Yes, because essentially that was the authority granted to DHEC. If they came into a particular individual's restaurant and, as you said, they saw rat droppings or whatever, you could be closed down until such time as you pass inspection.
Okay, so
yes.
that hasn't changed. But he can't just close it down at the drop of a hat, say, hey, I'm closing your restaurant down. We need to inspect it. He can't go around and do that.
Well, not unless there's a quote-unquote pandemic or some other health crisis that he or she has determined exist.
But okay, wait a minute. We've lived through COVID,
right?
Okay, back in 1920 and 21. Okay, Henry 2021. Okay, McMaster kept the state open, and everybody praised him for doing that, which is, I think, an excellent thing because businesses didn't go belly up. Nobody went bankrupt. He brought the state through the pandemic, which is great. He didn't shut everything down. So
that's not true. He did.
Well, he shut schools down.
There was a period of weeks where he did close everything down.
Okay.
The fact that he is now trying to say that he never shut the state down is absolutely false. And you have him on record saying that the state will be closed. Remember 14 days to flatten the curve?
Right.
So there was a period of about 5 weeks where everything in the state was shut down, including schools.
It was 5 weeks, not months.
Correct.
Like
I agree
states.
with you. Yes.
Okay, that's that's the point I'm trying to make. Now, Governor McMaster is in favor of this happening?
Seems to be. He seems ready to sign this debacle when it comes to his desk. Now, we have the bill coming from the House, which is 4927.
Right.
And here's what's interesting, guys. That's over about 214 pages. Now, there's a sister bill coming from the Senate. I believe it is 915 is the Senate bill. And it is over 700 pages.
We're going to we have to pass it to see what's in it?
That's pretty much it. And what's really interesting is just like at the federal level, when you have a bill put before the Congress or the House or the Senate, however you want to call it, they have to have the Congressional Budget Office tell them what's this going to cost the American taxpayers. Well, the same thing happens at the state level as well. You have to have fiscal accountability.
Of course.
Well, they actually had this argument on the floor of the House, and they said, what's this going to cost? And ultimately they admitted that there is no fiscal accounting because it's too big to say what it's going to cost. So I want you guys to imagine that I come to you and I say, hey, guys, I've got this great idea for this new entity, this new business, and I don't know what it's going to cost. So just write a check and leave it blank, and I'll fill it in later, and we'll just, we'll get started.
That sounds like what happens in Washington.
Are you ready to give me a blank check?
That sounds like what happens in Washington.
Yes, that is the opposite of fiscal, conservative, responsible actions that a legislator should be taking. I'm not happy with that. If you can't tell me what it's going to cost because you don't know, then you cannot pass this bill.
So just to give context, there's a guy named Josiah Magnuson.
Yes.
And there's Bill Herb Kurzman. Bill Herb Kurzman is the second in command of the Ways and Means Committee. The Ways and Means Committee is the one that sets the budget.
Yes.
Right.
He's the top dog. I mean, he's number 2.
And the sponsor of this
And
bill.
so Josiah asked him on the floor, what's this going to cost? And he fumbled and stumbled. Herb Kurzman did for a bit, and then he finally went, don't know.
Well, he had 2 guys come to his aid, if you will, and they tried to demonstrate what it was going to cost. But in the long run, they said, well, we don't have the answer. We don't know.
So basically, he was like a used car salesman. Is this car good? I mean...
So just so you know, Dominique, what made COVID unique in America's history was it was the first time we've ever quarantined healthy people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
it gave the state unbridled control through the bureaucrats. And Henry McMaster said, these are the experts on the ground here. The experts on the ground need to be making the calls here. The residents aren't smart enough to understand this, so we're going to have to listen to the experts on the ground. Well, the expert on the ground flew the coop and went to Ohio.
Yes.
We ended up hiring this Simmer guy. They're actually allowing these people to redo the system that had all this power. You can't give the bureaucrats that much power.
You can't give any entity that much power.
Certainly not one that is not elected. And to that end, Dave is absolutely right. And again, that was one of the arguments made that this bill doesn't actually create all these powers. Those powers existed before. But I want to reiterate, that doesn't make it okay.
Correct.
When you came up and said, I'm going to streamline and consolidate DHEC, then that means there should be a shrinking when you streamline something and consolidate it, not an expansion. And they admit that not one single person will lose their job. They'll just add additional jobs. Well, that's problematic because that is the exact opposite
of streamlining
and consolidate.
And that's what's called the flaw of good intentions. I was one of the people advocating 2 years ago to bust up DHEC.
Yes.
Big, strong voice in it. And the intentions were to do that.
Sure.
But once all the politicians and all the bureaucrats start
And the
intermingling, and the lobbyists, you end up with something worse than you had to start with.
Now, let me ask you this. Do these people realize that who they voted for are doing this? The citizens?
Well, there is a large push to get people informed. There are multiple groups. You got Palmetto State Watch is doing an excellent job of informing folks. But it really comes down to individuals who are already involved and already doing the research and reading and following. So to answer your question most succinctly, no, they don't.
So basically, this is like you said, you gave somebody a blank check, and
Yes.
Let's go start a business. Here's a blank check.
Correct. That's what our state legislators are asking us to do. Give them a blank check, and I'm not here for that.
And they're never ready for the next pandemics, Dominique.
No,
they're always doing yesterday's work. They're never ready for the next thing.
Yeah, they're reactive, not proactive.
That's correct.
We got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the debacle with Boeing and what happened with this gentleman who offed himself. And I only found out today, and I forgot until David reminded me, Nikki Haley's on the board of Boeing. We'll be right back after this. Back on the Regular Joe Show, and we're going to touch on a subject that's sort of Epstein-esque, so to speak. Boeing employee, whistleblower, committed suicide. Was it Saturday? Why would somebody do this unless they were threatened by an outside entity?
Well, so just so you know, Dominic, we've been writing about this. I was the first to break the story yesterday. He was testifying. He's a whistleblower testifying against Boeing. For those who don't know, Boeing's planes have been losing parts, doors, wheels. One fell, I don't know, so many feet in the air, and 50 people got hurt. So this guy, his name is John Barnett, in Charleston, South Carolina. He was testifying on Friday, and, he was just nailing them. He was nailing Boeing for the sloppy work they were doing. And he was supposed to come back in and testify on Monday. For some reason, on Saturday, he decided to put a gun to his head, and he was found in his truck. And the Charleston County coroner says it was clearly suicide. Now, with that said, to my friends Hillary Clinton, to my friends in Newark, New Jersey, to the good old boys in what we call the South Carolina Mafia, I totally believe this guy committed suicide.
Sure.
We're going to call this segment "You'd Better Redneckignize," because you'd better redneckignize. If you're going to talk like this and you're going to be putting out stuff like this, well, let me just say this. I'm a little concerned that we reported it. I can't unpublish it now, but I do want to say to the folks at Boeing, I totally believe this guy killed himself. 100%.
Yeah. No,
I want to make
fingers
it very, very clear. It was clearly a suicide. So was Epstein.
Yep.
Don't you guys?
Yeah.
Don't you feel that way?
Well, maybe they told him, if you don't stop testifying, we're going to put you on a 777 and fly you from L.A. to
Fresh off
Australia.
the line.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. You've lived near Newark, New Jersey, right?
I lived near White Plains Airport. I lived near JFK.
This is called that treatment. That, what do you call that? Wise guy treatment? He got the wise guy treatment.
Yeah. That's why you don't ever drink. And Luke could testify to this. You don't ever drink the water from the Kilvan Cull around JFK.
Yeah, we have our own southern version. For those of you who live up north and have just moved here, we have our version of this, don't we, Shannon?
Yes, we
Yes.
do. Yes, we
Do you
do.
do?
Yeah, we do. And Mr. Barnett, God rest his soul. I'm not trying to make light of his death.
No,
But bottom line is the guy was. It's hard to believe that he was giving testimony on a Friday, and it was making news. And then he's supposed to testify on Monday, and on Saturday he commits suicide in a truck, in Charleston, no less. It's just. But anyway, whatever. I am never surprised anymore by what happens.
Well, it's becoming, in fact, that more and more whistleblowers are afraid to come forward because of what's happening
They didn't let Alex Murdaugh out by any chance, did they?
No.
I explained it.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that Alex Murdaugh, when we first started reporting on that several
Make sure
years
he hadn't
ago,
gotten out.
everyone said, "Oh, this can't be true." Alex Murdaugh's a standing pillar of the community. Right.
It's the
See how
same
that
people
went?
that he alleged killed his wife and son. It's that person that actually
Probably.
shot this guy.
Same guy.
It's the same person
guy.
that killed that family in Kansas back in 1960.
And
that
hung
they never
Epstein.
found.
Yeah, and hung
Yeah,
Epstein.
And
hung
hung
Epstein.
Epstein.
This
Yeah.
guy's getting around.
You know, but the funny thing is, the fellow who was in Epstein's cell with him was named Nicholas Tartaglione. I went to high school with Nick.
Are you serious?
I went to high school with Nick Tartaglione, and Nick Tartaglione told, it's not me, so Nick Tartaglione told the guard that he has to get out of that cell because this guy's going to kill himself and they're going to blame me for it. Now, here's a very small, intricate detail that never got out into the news that only about me and maybe 87, 88 other people know that graduated from Stepanak in 1985. Nick was on the Hillary Clinton patrol
Wow.
when she was living in Chappaqua.
Well, I'm sure that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Nick is in jail for a drug deal that went bad. But the funny thing is...
Hunter Biden, perhaps?
And the funny thing is, he was on her detail because Nick was in three or four different police departments. And he was patrolling the area that they lived in. And it's just funny that he ends up in a jail with Epstein.
Yes, it is.
And he tells the guard, I have to get out of here because this guy's going to off himself. And the minute he gets out of jail, a day later, there's a gunshot wound held to the back of the head, something like this. I mean, I don't know how strong anybody is, but, you know, my Glock is not that sensitive that I could pull a trigger with my hand holding like this. I mean...
Right.
Oh, so this guy also had a suicide.
No, Nick is still alive,
Oh,
but
okay.
Epstein was shot in the back of the head, and they said it was suicide.
What? I thought he was hung.
Epstein was shot. This, oops,
Wow.
something somebody don't know that
I
only
didn't
maybe
know that.
80 other
I didn't
people
know
know.
that
I
either.
do know this John Barnett guy was shot, and I know for a fact that stinks to high heaven. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't stink. It ranks.
Right. Right.
It ranks of foul play.
You guys are conspiracy theorists.
I do
don't
know
what's
this
going
for
on
a
here.
fact.
I'm conspiracy theorist.
Hunter Biden's come out, the cocaine at the White House.
Yeah.
They found out it was Trump's cocaine.
Yeah, I knew it.
Oh,
I knew
I
it.
thought it was.
Trump's.
I thought it was Domino's powdered sugar that they were putting on donuts that they were serving at the breakfast at the White House. That was cocaine. Really? It was Trump's cocaine.
Yeah, Trump. Yeah, everything's Trump's fault.
The Don.
The Don did
Into
it.
the-
I mean, not for
Doesn't
nothing.
drink, but he does coke.
Doesn't drink, but well, he does Coke, Diet Coke.
Well, yeah,
That's
you're
what,
right.
That's what he
his
drinks.
favorite.
That's his favorite
beverage.
drink. I mean, let's stop and think about it. How many other whistleblowers in the past decade?
I heard something a little bit ago. Didn't you say that somebody else pretty important was on the board of Boeing? Did I miss that?
Dominique?
Yeah, people who have those Nikki Haley signs in front of
Yeah.
their houses, they need to realize that she's on the board of Boeing.
And what does Boeing do? They make airplanes, but they also make something else. Do you know what they make?
Refresh my memory.
Military hardware. They make all the stuff for the U.S. government. That's where they get most of their money,
That's
making
interesting.
the stuff we send to Ukraine.
Maybe that's what
And
Biden's doing.
that's another thing. We just, I saw on the news this morning another $300 billion or $3 billion in aid to Ukraine.
So here's the deal.
Just print more money.
Or you think Boeing's people are connected? I mean, you guys think they were very connected?
I will say this. Listen, kid who used to fly to Europe every summer, come back to the United States, back and forth. I never flew an Airbus. I always flew Boeing because I always
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be the best.
It's supposed to be the best. And what instilled that in me was my parents saying it's an airplane, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. And then when you go on, now that YouTube is out and you watch the air show from Toulouse, France, and you see an Airbus blowing up and crashing and stuff like that, not for nothing. I don't know if I can trust a Boeing airplane. I mean, you go back to the days of when the original Hawaiian Air lost the fuselage of the plane, and that was a Boeing. But I hate to say this, every Boeing that's had a major mishap, people have survived the crash.
Well, can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Well, does this story blow over, or does this story? What happens to this story?
I think it blows over.
Me too.
Yeah, I
but
do
I'd
too.
put
I
$1
don't think it
billion
goes very far.
on it.
Yeah.
buried.
It gets buried.
Yeah, it will get buried. But and the sad thing is somebody lost a friend, a family member, a husband, and all over blowing a whistle that things aren't done right. I mean, how are you supposed to testify? I mean, not for nothing. Testifying for a company like Boeing is like testifying against the mafia. It's like Henry Hill.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got one thing to say about that.
Oh, boy.
You better recognize. I will educate you down here in the South. You ever been educated, Shannon?
I have been educated.
Have you been educated with the ambulance that was coming to the accident?
Yes, I have.
And I have to ask another thing. And you're running, and this is something I've brought up. They made red light cameras an invasion of privacy.
Yes.
But now they made red light cameras standard and punishable on school buses.
Yeah, I think that's because you had all the drivers running through the stop sign on the bus.
Right. But now that accident that happens with a school bus, you have the tape to go back to. That accident of the guy who's at fault in an accident going through a red light, it's his word against the other driver's word.
Well, it shouldn't be. What they should be able to use is, I think the intent was not to write tickets for people running red lights.
Right.
But in the event of an accident, they can use that information to verify who's at fault.
I wasn't sure of that. I just wanted to make sure. We got to take another commercial break, and we'll be back with more of the Regular Joe right after this. Joe Show, and this portion of the Regular Joe Show is sponsored by Pizza 501, authentic New York style pizza right here in the heart of the Grand Strand, located in the Food Lion Shopping Center on 501. Try Pizza 501 for some truly authentic Italian dishes and pizza. It is the best in the Grand Strand. Give them a call at 843-347-0805. We're back here with Shannon Grady and Mr. David Hucks. You guys have a little bit of say on that constitutional carry.
Yeah, there's been some confusion about it. Some folks are saying, well, what does it mean? And so I got it straight from one of the legislators, Mr. Stuart Jones, and this is what he says directly from Stuart in the text. Hey, the new constitutional carry law allows anyone without a felony or prior violent criminal conviction to carry openly or concealed without a permit. But it also strengthens private property laws in certain public areas so that the laws are tougher. If someone carries in an area where they are not allowed to, or if they were prohibited to carry, there are now tougher penalties in place. Hope that clears it up for folks.
Yeah, basically you can have an 18-year-old who's mentally unstable carry a handgun.
No. You would hope that...
I know. But
here's the thing. An 18-year-old who's mentally unstable could already purchase a weapon.
So
this doesn't change that.
Right.
My mother made the point that, well, now 18-year-olds can go out there and get guns and shoot people. I said, Mom, the 18-year-olds who are going to go get a gun and shoot people are already doing that because they're criminals.
Correct.
The criminals are going to get guns illegally. They don't care about getting it legal.
Correct.
So this
There's
isn't
29. There are 29 states doing this.
Right.
And of those 29 states, the crime statistics are lower.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Those are it's the places like New York where you can't carry a gun. Where they're putting the National Guard in the subways.
Yeah.
So
a well-armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, listen, I was being a little facetious when I said mentally stable. Yeah, okay, as long as you understood where I was coming from. But I mean, listen, do I still think you should have a CWP? So do I still think you should go for training? Absolutely.
Yeah, if you've never had any training and this is the first time you've ever purchased a weapon, it's advisable for your own safety to have some basic comprehension skills.
Yeah.
Myself, I've got military as a background, so I'm fairly comfortable. And then, as David demonstrated earlier, you better recognize that I know how to use a weapon.
Yeah, and that's, and I, not for nothing. You don't hear about carjackings down here.
You don't?
No.
Because you might get shot if you...
Exactly.
Good chance.
You don't hear about...
Florida, same thing in Florida.
Yeah.
When they were having those issues with
illegal immigrants.
And here's what DeSantis said: Our people have guns. You
Correct.
loot, we shoot.
Exactly.
They didn't have looting down there.
No,
man. It
and
just didn't happen.
And the sheriff went on TV the other day and showed this is a peaceful protest. This is a riot.
Yes.
Okay, and everybody got the word, and that's what I think is going to happen down here. To be blatantly honest with you, I don't hear about carjackings. I don't hear about people going into banks and robbing them, armed robberies and stuff like that, because let's face it, even though it says at a bank you can't carry a concealed weapon in there, if you're a police officer, if you got a CWP and you're driving through a drive-through, you're gonna act.
Yep.
And that's why people have it down here. You also had something you mentioned about the legislature.
Well, the Senate. Well, first of all, the House. For those of you who don't know, the House passed a very good bill on judicial reform. Unfortunately, it's going over to the Senate now, and the Senate had a meeting. If you're a C-SPAN junkie, I apologize. On these types of things, I am. The Senate met this morning. The senators just poo-pooed all over it. Excuse my language. And all it takes is one senator, guys,
Bingo,
to kill a bill.
Yep.
Like Luke
And it
Rankin.
looks like judicial reform is on life support right now. 93% of people who voted in the Republican primary wanted judicial reform. Who are these people working for, Dominic? They're not
I
working
have
for
no
us.
idea.
Yeah,
They're not working for
well,
us.
listen
Boeing?
to Ted. You remember Todd Rutherford actually said from the floor that
Yes,
you should listen
yes,
to the constituents. You
yes.
should listen to the people that
Correct.
know more.
Yeah.
Because voters are stupid, right? That's
And
what
he's
Todd
on the
said.
JMSC,
Yes,
folks.
he is. Yes, he is. He thinks we're all stupid, and only he has a brain.
Well, we're going to take a commercial break, but I just want everybody to know, if you want to see this episode on TV, we're going to go to a interview right now we have with Woody, but go to Average Joe Day on YouTube and go to myrtlebeachsc.com, their homepage, as well as whattheaveragejoeknows.com. Everything will be there at today's show in full. So let's go to Woody for an interview. He's a landscaper and he's really good at his job.
Hey, Dominic Santora here, aka The Average Joe, and we're here in beautiful Prince Creek in Murrells Inlet at this lovely home to talk to Brian Woodruff, who's going to take this mulch and he's going to lay it out in the back, and we're going to see how it's done, and we're going to tell you why he's the man for the job you need done at your home. Okay, this is Brian Woodruff, as we said before, and he's here in Prince Creek to lay down some landscaping felt and put some mulch down. So explain to us the process of what's going to be going on.
Well, this particular customer had us come in to strip all the pine straw out that they had in the backyard. They want to transition to mulch and put some metal edging up along the fence. So we're currently putting down some landscape fabric to protect some of the areas that we created or recreated for them, and then we'll be putting down mulch later this morning.
What's the difference between the mulch, the pine straw, and rock? Is it just a preference, or is there a difference?
In my personal opinion, I think it's aesthetics. There's a lot of information out there that says, one thing causes this and one thing causes that. And in 5 years of doing this, the one thing that seemingly always comes up is snakes.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 5 years, and I've seen maybe 2 snakes, and one of them, somebody showed him to me, and he was in mulch, and
blended in.
It
You
blended
couldn't really see
in.
it, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And
Yeah.
then the other one was not even related to this landscaping. It was on a golf course. So I think that no matter what you have, you're going to have issues with this or that or the other. One thing may lend itself more to one or
Okay.
the other, but ultimately for me, it just comes down to aesthetics and what the customer wants and what they feel.
As you can see what Brian said, he puts down the felt to keep the weeds down and do it for some protection, and then they're going to put the mulch on top of that. Look how meticulous he is, making sure that it's bent the right way, folded so nothing happens and no weeds come up through the felt. How long have you been doing this? For 5 years here in South Carolina?
5 years in South Carolina. I had a landscaping and lawn care background in Ohio, where I'm from. Actually did that while I was in college, and fell in love with doing it and the creation of it. And there's nothing better than than taking something and recreating it and making it special and pretty and all that. And so you get that satisfaction at the end that this is a job that we had a hand in creating. And then of course the customer service piece that goes along with it, the end result, the reviews and the recommendations that come with having a landscape business in the Grand Strand, all of which just lends itself to job satisfaction.
So as you can see here in Prince Creek, why it's very, very popular to live in. You have beautiful water features right in your backyard. And also the quietness and the beautiful plantings that are done around the home make Prince Creek a very attractive area to live in. Are you just locally in Murrells Inlet, or you go from North Myrtle Beach all the way down to Georgetown?
Currently, we are running from Pawleys Island just to the edge of Socastee, Myrtle Beach area, so around 544.
That's not small. That's a nice area to cover.
No. So initially, when I started, I had 40 customers and a high school kid that helped me, and now we're up to 6 employees and over 300 properties. I say we probably touch in a year.
Over 300 properties. Now, this is a man who's been doing this for 5 years, so if he's got 300 properties, he knows what he's doing. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can reach out to us by phone. We have a Google page, a website. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're pretty much all over the place.
What's the website address?
Woody'sLawnCare.info.
Okay. And you got a Google page and you got a Facebook page?
Yes, sir.
So we just look up Woody's Lawn Care on
Woody's
Facebook?
Lawn Care Murrells Inlet. You can find us, like I said, on Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the major social media platforms. It actually had to hire someone this year to handle that for me because it was just a piece that I couldn't keep up with anymore.
No, listen, with 300 customers and 300 properties you got to take care of, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is actually a lot to do. We're going to let you get back to work, and we're going to take some shots of you guys getting some work done. Does that sound good for you?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Woody's Lawn Care, and if you need him, you know how to get in touch with him. And I'll tell you, if he's here in Prince Creek, where all these beautiful homes are located, you could tell this man knows what he's doing. I just want to clarify one more thing. The Average Joe Day is on YouTube, myrtlebeachsc.com on the homepage, and whattheaveragejoeknows.com. You can see the videos that we're recording today. We had a little interesting conversation. You have a 16-year-old, right?
I do have a 16-year-old.
He didn't want to go to school today?
He did not want to go to school today. He was very concerned about a test. And his concern was that he was going to make, wait for it, a B, not an A. And that was very distressing for him because he wants to maintain his straight A since 7th grade. And I explained to him that that was not a reason to miss school and that he needed to, quote, toughen up, Buttercup.
Where does he go to high school?
He goes to Christian Academy.
It's a good school, by the way.
Good school. It is a good school.
I think Coastal just picked up a player from there, did they not?
Could be, because we've got some pretty good teams there.
I think so.
Yeah.
So did he went to school?
He did go to school. His mother's kind of a drill sergeant. He actually told his 2nd grade teacher that I, quote, ruled with an iron fist. I don't know why he thinks that.
I see an engagement ring, I see a wedding band, and I see a watch. And another ring on the other finger. The Navy ring?
No, this is USC.
USC. Yeah. I don't see an iron fist.
No, I don't. I don't know why he said that. I think he got it because I also taught history and government, and I may have talked about various dictators around the world ruling with an iron fist, and he just figured, well, you do.
Your degree's in what, education?
Yeah, history. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my mother would have loved you. My mother was a history professor.
A master's in human resource and management, and then a doctorate in educational leadership.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had the mother who had half the PhD in history. That was a pain in the neck.
Yeah, I is educated.
You is educated?
Highly educated.
Highly educated.
You're highly educated.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I got all the doctorate degrees to prove it.
And
You run a sporting goods store.
I do. I'm a retired educator. I got tired of. No, I'm kidding. I am a retired educator. I didn't get tired of the kids. I just I got out and then I decided I wanted to do something that was more in my background. And I was a coach. I coached collegiately and I coached in high school. Multiple colleges. My husband's military, so we traveled around a good bit, and so that kind of made it difficult to stay in any one place for very long. And then I coached in high school as well. But, so I got out. He's retired from the Army. He's back working for the Department of Defense again. And so I opened up the sporting goods store.
And you only have one, right?
We just have the one, yeah.
I know that feeling.
Unfortunately, cancer kind of stepped in and prohibited.
Listen,
kids,
I know the feeling. I'm an only. Yeah. So, I mean, people see me on the video. They're like, oh, you're such a nice guy. I was 16 pounds, 12 ounces when I was born. And my mother said, that's it. No more. She says that's enough. But
he was a linebacker.
Yeah, well, I'm a Hawks. When God said, "Be fruitful and multiply,"
he took it seriously.
There's 5,000 of us in Horry County.
Well, 5,000 of you, but your family came here pretty much on the second ship after the Mayflower.
That's 1760s.
I think that's accurate, yeah.
But let me just say this to you: we did believe in having those farm boys, those farm kids, 5, 6, 7, 8 per family. It was one of those things you did back in the day.
Well,
I'm from a family of 6. There's 3 boys, 3 girls. My mother is from a family of 12. 4 girls, 8 boys. My dad is from a family of 8, 7 boys and 1 girl.
So you've got the whole thing down.
Family. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I messed up. I only had the one.
A lot of people don't know this, but Adam and Eve were Huckses. That's how it started out.
Okay.
I think you're confusing Huckster.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Right.
Oh, good Lord Almighty! I don't know. These two are trouble together. I don't know. They're the comedy relief this week. I'm trying to be the serious one. But no, seriously, Brian, have you ever done a family background? I mean, like a DNA?
Oh, yeah, I've gone all the way back to the 1100s. We came over here in 1633, and we went to Tidelands, Virginia. And so the king gave us a land grant, the whole area that is Surrey, Virginia, Tidelands, Virginia.
Right.
Old Colonial Williamsburg, for those of you who don't know what that is. That was my family. We had that whole land grant. And then in the 1760s, late 1760s, there were Virginians talking bad about our king. There was a guy named George Washington.
Yeah, I heard he was a bit of a PIA.
Yeah,
wise guy.
We got ticked off when we moved to what is now Conway. So we were Tories. A Tory was someone who supported Britain during the war.
Supported the king.
Very proud of that. Very proud of that. My family supported the king during the Revolutionary War. We supported the South during the Civil War. So if Civil War breaks out or any kind of war breaks out, whatever side I pick,
don't pick
go
them.
the other way.
The other way.
Just
I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, I did a DNA test and I had Henry Louis Gates from, he did a little bit of a background on me, and it's not cheap to get this done.
Yeah, I had a DNA test done too. It came back human, which is came back because I was afraid it was going to say alien. So.
Well, listen, I did the DNA test. It came back human too. I thought it was going to come back rock. Okay, I mean, I'm being realistic. I mean, you went back to the 1100s. They traced me back to the 1500s in Italy. That's, wow. I mean, but when you stop and think about it, it's pretty cool how it gets done. I mean, it's a long process, and it's not cheap to get this stuff done. But I will say, if you have the ability to get a 23andMe or an Ancestry.com, I do it because it's fascinating. You never know. Yeah.
The government can really track everything about you.
Well, I have some friends who really don't want to do it because they don't know who in their past is going to say, "Hey, this is your kid." I mean,
right.
That's
that's
a lot of
scary.
Exactly, and my wife and I, we have one child. He's adopted. I mean, his father was one of my really good friends. And, Andrew, I don't know if Andrew's done a DNA test, but I try to get him to do it, because he's got the Scottish-Irish background on him. And I really would love for him to do a DNA test. And I'm going to talk him into doing it. And when he gets the results, I'm going to have him call in and read it off.
It's great.
Well, have you guys not heard about the Chinese and what they're supposedly doing with all these DNA tests? They supposedly bought out 23andMe so that they could actually genetically engineer some sort of disease that would specifically target people with a.
Listen, I'm still waiting for my Chinese food from last year.
DNA. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know about you guys. But
I'm waiting for my Chinese food from last year. When the balloon got shot down, I still didn't get my order. Yeah, I mean, it's like the F Troop episode. Balloon! Yeah. What do you got going
on? Balloon, that's Baroon.
Oh,
Baroon.
I'm talking. What are you got a speaking engagement coming up, don't you, Shannon?
I do. We're going to have some fun. April 1st, which is the Monday after Easter.
April Fool's
Yeah,
Day.
April Fool's Day. So we're going to host an event. It's going to be called No Foolin'. I'm running for
Wow.
South Carolina House 61.
That's
Gotta have a little
great.
fun with play on words, you know.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the Crafty Rooster in downtown Conway on 3rd Avenue from 6 to 8 p.m. Come on by, grab some free food and some free non-alcoholic beverages. If you want alcoholic beverages, you got to pay for them yourself. But yeah, it's gonna be great. We're going to have a lot of guests there and some speakers, and everybody is invited from wherever, but specifically from District 61. So,
and what is this?
District 61
right. Thank
is
you.
like Forest Brook, Palmetto Bays, Myrtle Trace, parts of Conway. So it's a pretty good, diverse area. It's sort of nestled in between District 68 and District, 58, I think is the other one to the right.
How do they come up with these district numbers? I mean,
Well, they gerrymander them. That's what it's called, gerrymandering. Yes, that's
Luke
what the term-
Rankin.
Yeah,
Oh,
Luke
here we
Rankin.
go.
Good friend Luke
Really
Rankin.
Here we
knows
go. Your
that,
good
yeah.
friend Luke Rankin. I know somebody else who used to sit in this chair is very good friends with
Yeah.
Luke Rankin.
We all love Luke.
Yeah.
Luke,
Luke.
I am your
I am your
father.
I've been trying to help
That's what I'm
Luke
thinking, too.
out for years.
Death Star.
Most out being the critical word. I've been trying to help Luke out for many, many
Yeah,
years.
help him out of
Out.
the office.
Yeah, out.
Well, I'm with you there. I think that's a great idea. We do have someone running against him. Mr. Audrey Benton is going to try, but I don't know that. We'll see.
It's strong to be an incumbent.
It's an uphill
Yeah.
battle
Right.
with a guy who, gosh, back in September he had $250,000 in his account already.
In
That's Luke.
September.
In September, so probably the guesstimates are 1.5 mil is what.
It's
Luke
nice
will
to have the
probably
trial lawyers
Right,
as your
exactly.
friends.
Well, when you can
But see,
pick the
that's-
judge that's going to hear your case,
that helps.
it does help.
It certainly
It
certainly helps you feel
No conflict of
confident
interest
going in.
there.
Didn't they write a song about this called "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia"?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's kind of funny how you say this, but you know what? I hate to tell you this. It's the same in New York. It's the same in Italy. I mean,
Yeah.
there were two guys that prosecuted the mafia in Palermo in Sicily, and their car blew up on the highway, and they had no idea there was a bomb in it.
Wow.
And I mean, it's all over. So if you people think that it's only in South Carolina or if it's only in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, it's in all 50 states plus the District of Columbia, especially in the District of Columbia. I mean, you're for the honest working class people. You want to bring decency back to the state.
Yes.
You want people who are in office to be held responsible.
Absolutely. And, I want to go back to what I was talking about earlier. There's a video that's now going viral again that actually transpired on the floor of the House. And Adam Morgan, who was the chairman for the Freedom Caucus, was speaking about why are we allowing these bills to come forward that are basically being pushed by the chambers of commerce and all of these other businesses.
Deep pockets?
Yeah, and ignoring what the constituents say. And he was interrupted by the minority leader, Todd Rutherford, who said, wait a minute, you shouldn't be listening to the constituents because they don't know how to do these things. You've got to listen to these lobbyists and these chambers and these businesses. And Adam said that is the exact opposite. Of what we should be doing. So folks need to realize that there were Republicans who voted in lockstep measure with Todd. They believe what he believes, that you and I, the constituents, are not smart enough to make these decisions. And so that's why when they go to these meetings like at the HCGOP and a constituent stands up and asks a question about the health czar, they laugh at him.
And that's
because they don't look at you as someone that they are hired by. They look at you as a joke.
There used to be a clothing store in New York, and it was called Sims. Lou, do you remember Sims?
Yes, I do.
Size
An
sim.
educated consumer.
An educated consumer is our best customer. Down here, it seems to be an educated voter is my worst nightmare.
Yes, I agree.
And that should be the opposite.
You're right. You're right. It will be if I'm elected.
The opposite. Just want to clarify
we
that.
We will have people educated, and they will know what's going on, and I will be transparent, and I'll also be available to talk with whatever they have.
And that's something that really doesn't happen much now with politicians. Nothing. I got to give a big shout out to Justin over here, crouching down behind the camera, shooting the video. So if you enjoy the video and you like it, Justin's the video guy, and I'll throw his email up on the website if you guys are interested in any of the video getting done. Again, Average Joe Day on YouTube, MyrtleBeachSC.com at home page, and WhatTheAverageJoeKnows.com. I am Dominic Santoro for The Average Joe Show, along with
the regular Joe David Hugs.
And the above-average Joe Lou Bellagio.
And the not sloppy Joe Shannon
Grady.
Who, I got to thank you for filling in for me when I went to my dad's birthday
You're
party.
quite welcome.
Everybody, have a good week. Top of the morning to you since it's St. Patrick's Day. Don't go out and do anything that you shouldn't be doing, Lassie. Have
Go
a good
out.
day.
Get to North Myrtle Beach. It's going to be fun.